What's up YouTube, it's your boy Evan here. We're back at it again with another video. This time I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm doing a killer tier list for Dead by Daylight for the latest patch. So we're going to go through all the killers in release order. I have it ranked from S all the way down to trash tier. You can call it F tier, but I like to call it trash. It's more fun that way. I'm going to include kind of their base kit, maybe certain builds or add-ons or perks that work really well with them. I'm going to be ranking this based on how well you can consistently get good results, either 4K, 3K, stuff like that. So we're going to take all of that into consideration, my personal gameplay experience. If I have any biases, I'll probably let you guys know at some point just so everything's pretty clear. But yeah, let's go get started. The first, we've got the Trapper here. He was one of the first original killers to come out in the game. So his ability is you put down traps. The thing is, you only start out without any add-ons. You start off with only one trap, and then the other traps are randomized throughout the map before you pick them up. Sometimes they're in a good spot, sometimes they're not. He is a really weak early game killer, but people can disarm his traps, which makes his power kind of useless. You do get a notification, I believe, when you disarm a trap, but it's just he's not a great killer. He's very simple, but his map control isn't that great. You can put traps down on good areas, like around loops where survivors aren't expecting it, in bushes. You can sometimes put it underneath textures so it's hidden, but he's overall not that great. He's not very consistent at all. I'm unfortunately gonna have to put him in D tier. I don't think he's trash tier because the snowball, especially late game, can happen with some well-placed traps, especially if the survivors 3-gen themselves. But yeah. Next we have Wraith. Wraith recently got buffed to where I believe it was called his Windstorm add-on got kind of baked into his base kit. He's definitely, in my opinion, the most fun killer to play in the game. Doesn't mean he's the best, but he's definitely the most fun. He has really great add-ons. He has a lot of stuff that work well with him. You can do a hit-and-run build like with Sloppy Butcher, Nurse's Calling, that kind of thing. You can do Starstruck builds, Terror Radius, stuff like that. Play with your food works well with him. So he's a really solid killer since his buff. I'm gonna put him solidly in the A tier. Actually, I think he's a really good killer. Like I said, all his add-ons are really solid too. There's also a build I like to run called the Chad Wraith build. If you've seen Dowsy's video, he's another YouTuber. But he focuses around breaking pallets. And getting stunned on pallets to have them break and get speed boosts when survivors aren't expecting it. So he has a lot of different play styles. He's a really fun killer to play. Next we have Hillbilly. So Hillbilly is really interesting. Again, one of the original killers. He has an instant down with his chainsaw. Great map mobility, great map control, one hit downs. He's really solid. He's 115% speed, just like Trapper and Wraith. However, I don't think he's as good as Wraith. His chainsaw is really hard to hit a lot of the times, and that's it. He's just harder to be consistent with. He's not bad by any means because, like I said, his map control is great, and anybody with a one hit down that isn't impossible to land is going to be solid. I don't know if it's controversial. It's close between B and C. I think I'm going to put him in B. Just because having map control was really good. Also, as a heads up, the thing I value most in a killer is chase potential. How quickly you can get a hit and then chase them down for another hit. And if you can one hit down, you avoid that process altogether. So he has that and good map control, so he's B. He would be higher, but I think he's definitely hard to learn, hard to land consistently. Like the cross map plays are cool, but it doesn't really happen that much. Next we have Nurse. Nurse, we don't really need to talk about too much. She can blink around the map. A lot of the rules that apply to other killers just don't apply to her. If you're in a loop, teleport to the other side and smack them. You know, it's if you're on the second floor of Midwich, the elementary school, you just teleport downstairs. Really easy. If you miss your attacks on her, the blink fatigue can be pretty brutal at times. So she's definitely, in my opinion, the hardest killer to play. But she avoids so much of the situations that other killers get stuck in. She has to be S tier. Her chase potential is insane. You can blink to a survivor from max range, hit him, blink up to him again, hit him again, down. It's just, pair that with Infectious Fright. You could put Sloppy on her to make it so that everybody's, less likely to heal. Nurse is just pretty insane in that way. Next we have Michael Myers. Myers is definitely the most fun killers to play. His add-ons are really solid, and he has a lot of different ways to play, like either Infinite Tier 3, Infinite Tier 1 with, the wall hacks, as they like to be called. So he's definitely fun, but as far as consistency and being good, the thing is about his tiers. In Tier 1, he is so slow, and he has a reduced lunge range, I think, and he does his Tier 1 sucks, and you have to spend a lot of time, or a good amount of time, sneaking up on people. If people aren't aware, then he becomes a lot better. But as you play consistently, for example, my killer rank is I'm rank 2. Very low amount of times you're going to be able to get a stock off. Even if you're running something like Monitor and you don't have a terror radius at Tier 1 or 2, or like Tier 2, a very small terror radius, people are usually just going to be looking around. So, it's close. Just because his late game with Tier 3, his snowball with Tier 3 can be insane, and especially with add-ons to increase the duration of Tier 3. I would put him in D tier. He's close to trash tier for me, but his snowball potential is there. And like I said, anybody with a one-hit down it's going to be hard to put them in trash tier. So, next we have the Hag. Definitely a pretty interesting killer. I believe she's one of the smallest killers in the game and harder to see. She puts down little triangle traps on the ground that in mud, and if you step on them, assuming no add-ons, base kit, everything, then kind of a copy of her spawns up and scares the survivors, and she can teleport to it if she's in range. So you can put this next to gens, you can put this next to hex totems, you can put this next to hooked survivors, exit gates. Really solid. She has some really, really good add-ons as well, increasing the range that actually she can teleport to. She's just really, really good at getting hit, like free hits. Like someone activates a trap, you teleport to it, bam, slap. So yeah, she's really solid. It's tough. It's either S tier or A tier for me. It's tough. Oh man. I might change this, but I'm gonna put her in S tier. Her map control is insane. She's not good in chase. She's one person you don't want to chase with. One, because she's slower than other killers, but I believe she's 110 speed instead of 115. So something like Huntress, Trickster, people like that, you don't really want to chase with. You want to use their power. So that's definitely a good way to go. I'll leave her an S for now. We might change it. We'll see. She's really good. Next we have Doctor. Doctor is one of those killers that sees plays at all ranks, but does worse the higher rank you go. There's different ways to play him. You can play around his madness, or you can play around his terror radius. He sends out his main power is he sends out a shock blast that is equal to his terror radius. He has a huge terror radius. It hits everybody. Every time you get hit by a shock, you move up a madness tier. If you get to tier 3, you have to snap out of it. You have a red light around you. You see all these fake doctors everywhere. The fake doctors don't really matter to the survivors that much, especially like if you're not a new player anymore. I find the Doctor really boring, honestly. The only thing he does is just does an AoE shock, and then he does his little shock therapy out in front of him. It's not bad. It's not a bad ability at all. It's good for track. He has because every time you shock someone, it shows their location. So he's great for newer players that aren't as good as tracking. If you match it with Whispers, the perk Whispers at base rank, it's the same, or at rank 3, it's the same as his base terror radius. So if Whispers is on, you can just shock, and you'll guarantee hit at least one person. I think Doctor is solidly C tier. I think he's probably the most middle of the road average killer, which does not mean he's bad, but I think he's just good. He's not bad. If I could put like a C+ tier, he'd be here. He'd be there. Next we have Huntress. Huntress is pretty crazy. A good Huntress is terrifying. She throws hatchets. Every hatchet deals 1 1 health state, unless you have the iridescent add-on, which makes it an insta-down, but you can only carry 1 of those since the nerf. That's not as strong as it used to be. But I will say that Huntress is insane, especially because if you hit someone close up, you can hit them with an axe or just a basic attack, and then throw an axe to finish them off. She is super, super strong. The only problem is she's slower. She's a 110 speed, so she's slower. Her map control is solid, but again, you have to land your hatchets. So something like Barbecue is pretty good on her, or Lethal Pursuer at the start of the game. She's slow of getting around, but she can, if you have a clear shot on someone from far away, you can hit them. I don't think she's S tier, but she's super, super strong. She's like an A+, if I had to be specific. And also, you can hold more hatchets with Huntress. Base, she's 5 axes, and I think you can go up to 7. And having 7 hatchets is a lot. And late game, when everybody's kind of stacked up and trying to heal each other, and everyone's kind of clumped up, especially if they 3-gen, that is crazy. That is a crazy situation for the survivors to be in, and really tough, because she can melt health states if she's landing hatchets. Anyway, next killer, we're going to have the Cannibal, aka Leatherface, aka Bubba. I like calling him Bubba, so I'm going to call him that for the rest of the video. Similar to Hillbilly, he has a chainsaw that he kind of waves in front of him, and that's kind of it. He's a very simple killer. He's 115 speed, I think 32 meter tear radius, so pretty standard stuff. Except he slows down when he's revving up his chainsaw, and then when he starts, he gets his speed boost and kind of just runs in front. You can hit multiple survivors with this. So if people are clumped up, this can be really, really solid. But I think the thing is, his map pressure isn't great. He doesn't have any way of getting around the map, unlike someone like Hag, Wraith, who is super quick when he's cloaked. It's tough. He's either B or C for me, and I'm gonna have to. Oh, this is tough. I think he's B. Again, these aren't in order. These are just order and release, so it doesn't mean Hillbilly is better than Bubba. But Bubba would be towards the bottom of B tier if I was doing a sorting, for sure. Next, we're gonna have Nightmare, aka Freddy. Freddy is a killer that got reworked. Some people hate him. I'm probably in the minority. I like Freddy, and I like playing him. I think he has a really unique gameplay style where you have the sleep world. You can put down dream snares and dream pallets. You can teleport around the map, so his map control is insane. And the more people you have in the sleep world, the better. The lower the cooldown. I think Freddy is extremely strong, even after his nerf. Which I thought he definitely needed as far as slowing down when you're placing dream snares. I think combined with decent perks, he still has some good add-ons. One of his iridescent add-ons got nerfed to the ground. It's terrible. The other one's still pretty solid, where you all start off in the dream world. So you can also make his cooldown on his ability better. So combine that with stuff like Tinker, Pop. He's definitely the best Pop goes the Weasel user in the game. I don't know if this is a hot take. I think Freddy's A tier. I think he's still really solid. Before the nerf, he was definitely S tier. But I think he's A tier now. I think most people would have him in B, but I think he's super strong. The only one side where he's not as great in now is Chase. But if you were a good Freddy, the nerf doesn't really matter too much. But yeah, in Chase, as long as you have your dream snares placed properly, as long as you just can't put them down in Chase as well anymore. That's the main difference. Next, we're going to have Pig. Pig is one of my favorite killers to play. It's a blessing and a curse, her RNG on her power. When you down a survivor, you can put a reverse bear trap from the movies on them. Survivors have a 1 in 4 chance with the 4 jigsaw boxes around the map, which are highlighted to them. And the interesting thing about it is that it's a 1 in 4 chance per survivor, not per box. And what I mean by that is the same box may be the correct box for all the survivors to choose, or it may be each box per survivor, if that makes sense. So survivor 1 could be, only be able to use box 4, and so on and so forth. Or survivor 1 might be able to use box 1. I'm probably not explaining it super well, but the chances, what I'm talking about is a lot of times survivors might be able to just get this off first try. Sometimes they won't. There's a certain build there's a certain build. It's Thrill of the Hunt, Ruin, Undying, Devour Hope, and then her 2 purple add-ons. I think it's like Tampered Timer, something like Box of Gears or something like that. It has gears in it. With that specific build and add-on combination, she's definitely S tier, maybe A tier with that combination. But like, just assume, but regular gameplay, she's not that great in chase. She's really not that great in chase. It's hard to use her power because you slow down pretty considerably when you crouch and when you are crouched. Especially in low loops, you can see her pretty easily, even though she's pretty fast. So I'm gonna put her in C tier. Just I think the RNG on her power is too much. Also, she gets punished for using, if you down someone like at 5 gens and then hook them, the timer doesn't start on the reverse bear trap until a gen is completed. So it's kind of up to this. So if you're facing a coordinated team, survivors can be like, all right, don't pop gens, like 99 gens. Like if you don't have Ruin or something, don't pop gens until we get our bear traps off, and then pop all the gens. So she's countered by good survivors really hard. She's countered by poor RNG. Anything that's out of a killer's control is gonna bring them down a lot in my eyes. Some might have her in D. I have her in C. I think she has a lot of strengths, but too many RNG weaknesses. Not good in chase, which is what I value the most. So next we have Clown. Clown got a semi rework. He now has 2 different bottles. One's that slow, one's that speed up. Slows only survivors, speeds up himself and survivors. The problem with the speed up one, I think it takes like 2.5 seconds, something like that, for it to activate, and that is just so, it takes so long. You have to throw it like way in front of you, then walk through it, and it's only like, it's not even that much of a bonus. And then plus it takes time to refill. I think you can only hit like 5 or 6 or something like that. I don't play him that much, but from everything I've seen, I've seen different people say, anytime I played against him, he's just, I hate to do it, he's trash here. He has no map mobility. In chase, he can be okay with his bottles, especially the slow one, but he just doesn't have nearly enough. He's so inconsistent. He's almost consistently bad. Like, I feel like if you do well as Clown, it's because the survivors messed up, not because you did well. So I'll leave it there. Poor Clown. I think he just needs something to rework. Another rework, honestly. He just has so much wrong going for him, which is unfortunate. Next we have Spirit. Full admission, I am a Spirit main. I love Spirit. I think she's the most fun killer in the game to play. Popping in and out of stealth, especially short blinks, are such a fun time. And I'm there's not really much else to say. She's definitely S tier. She's the best chase down in the game, except maybe Nurse. Nurse and her are probably tied for chase down. She has decent map mobility, kind of. If you want to, you can use your power and certain add-ons with like speed, how long you can stay in power, stuff like that, to get around the map. It's just her ability to snowball from the start of the game. She has almost no. Her only real downside is that she's 110 speed, but in her power, I think she's 176. I think. I don't know. She's faster in her power, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, as a Spirit main, again, I'm ranked 2. Played Spirit almost exclusively, Spirit and Wraith mostly, and a few games of Pig here and there. Spirit's just, and I don't know if this is my bias talking, but I know a lot of people are going to say she's one of the best. She's either the best or second best killer in the game. I think she's the best killer as far as consistency. She's not nearly as hard as Nurse to learn how to play. So, you know, I'll leave it there. Not much else to say. Next we have Legion. Legion, just gonna real quick throw him in the trash tier. I think Legion is the worst killer in the game. Currently, he is the only killer in the game whose power can knock down a survivor, which is kind of wild to think about. His cooldown coming out of Frenzy takes so long. Sure, he can get everybody injured, but like, you gotta down people to win the game. And as far as it comes to downing people, he's just a 115 M1 killer. So he's just not good. I don't know. His map control consists of going on Frenzy to run around. And sure, you know, that's all right. He has a really decent iridescent add-on where his when he vaults pallets, he can break them, and also his terror radius is map wide. So that's not bad. That's a good add-on. But other than that, I just think Legion's terrible. I do not see any value there. And I'd play Clown over Legion, I think, because at least Clown you can down people without like having to like wait this long fatigue where you're like slow and looking down. It's just, and like all survivors have to do is mend, and then they're fine. Next we're gonna have Plague. Another admission, Plague is my least favorite character to play against. Thank God she's the least played. I almost never see her in public. So the reason I don't like Plague is because she's the only killer that actively punishes you for doing the main objective. I don't think in a game doing the main objective should punish you in any way, because that's what you're there to do. If he throws up on a generator and you work on the generator, you get poisoned, you're eventually going to be infected and go down in one hit. So I think she's really solid. She starts I'm trying to think of the best way to explain it. She does really well against not as great survivors. She doesn't do as well against survivors that are very coordinated and solid, you know, in red ranks and stuff like that. She starts off with one corrupt pool. If she uses it and no one cleanses the rest of the game, she does not get any more. Which is pretty big. So she just has to go. She's a basic M1 killer at that point, if everyone's, you know, infected but not going to cleanse. So the fact everyone's one hit is still really solid for her, but she can get looped just like any other killer because she has nothing in chase that'll help. Against teams that aren't as coordinated, that do like to cleanse, she's just going to get corrupt purge, you know, her red vomit, and I think that's the best. Her red vomit, to me, is the best single power in the game. It's a ranged way to deal health state. And I don't think survivors get a speed boost when they get hit by it. I'm pretty sure. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. Because I know for Nemesis that they do get a speed boost when you get infected. But I could be wrong. Either way. So, I think even like... So when people say like, oh, just don't cleanse to counter the plague, you're still one shot. You're still loud as hell from being infected and throwing up. So I think she's really solid. I'm going to put her solidly in A tier. I feel really confident about that. Most people would have her in B probably. I think she's a solid A tier. Next is going to be Ghostface. Ghostface is a really fun killer to play. He's like a better Myers in my opinion. I think I'm going to throw him in C tier. Ghostface can one-shot people. He's a very average killer. He's a very average stealth killer. He's better than Myers for sure. And I think he's about Pig tier. Maybe a little bit better than Pig. But the fact that he can get up close and stalk people, multiple people off, and 99 his stock, really solid. The one down thing is that he can get exposed very easily. He has a decently long cooldown on his power, kind of. So I just think he's pretty average. I would say he's as average as Doctor, maybe slightly better than Doctor. Yeah, if I was doing order, he'd be at the front of C tier if I could get him there. Also, I'm just looking at the video. We're about 25 minutes in. So I think I'm going to go through these a bit faster. Demogorgon, super fun killer. I think after his buff / nerf, depending on how you look at it, to certain add-ons, base abilities, stuff like that. He has great map control with his portals. His lunge attack, fantastic. I think it can clear pallets super quick and clear breakable doors a lot quicker. Man, it's tough. He's either B or A to me. I think he's A. I just don't think his downsides are minor enough to where I don't think it's B. He's not S tier because you still have to, like, you can still get looped, and there are some loops where his lunge really doesn't do much, but I think he's pretty solidly A. Again, I might change this, but I feel pretty good about it. Oni, I'm going to start putting killers in their tiers a bit earlier on here. I think Oni is solidly A tier. He is, like, to me, what Myers should have been. Early game, super slow, super bad, and so you get your first hit and first activation of your power because you have to collect blood orbs from injured survivors. So at the start of the game, no one's injured unless they're running no mither, but that never happens really. And if it does happen, if you spawn it with no mither and you see blood orbs spawning immediately, you know you're kind of screwed. He has probably one of the best snowball in the game. His map pressure is insane with his power. It's like Hillbilly, but better. To me, yeah, I would say that he's a combination of Myers and Hillbilly, but the best parts of both of them. He's almost S tier for me, but the fact that I've played Oni and he's a bit weirder to control, compared to everybody else. So, and he's not as consistent as these three, so I would put him in A. Next we have Deathslinger. I'm gonna put Deathslinger in B tier. I might change it to C, but we'll have to see about that. Deathslinger is super fun to play. He just, shoots out a gun with a harpoon, reels you in, and that's kind of it. You have to mend yourself, kind of like Legion. He doesn't have great map control. He's a 110 killer. I'm gonna move him to C. Now that I'm saying stuff, he's a 110 killer. You have to land your shots. Sometimes you'll barely miss, but sometimes you'll get, kind of a laggy hit. It really depends. He's an average range killer. That's the best way I'm going to describe it. So I'm going to put him in C. He's not bad. Like, for the record, anybody in C is not bad. Only D and below I'll consider bad. Like, these guys are average or good, a little bit better than good, great, like fantastic, best in the game. Next, we're going to have Pyramid Head. Pyramid Head has probably my favorite power in the game, just like as far as like how it works and its uniqueness. He puts down his barbed wire trail of torment. He kind of like walks around at a slower speed. He can unleash it and shoot off a wave that'll do a 1 health state that can hit multiple people. Pretty solid ability. I think, honestly, I think he's also an A tier. If survivors walk into his torment and he downs them, he can send them off to a cage. The nice part about that is that hook perks don't activate, so no borrowed time, for example, that doesn't activate. No, you can't use deliverance. It doesn't count as a hook, so you're just kind of getting them out of the box. You can, and it saves you a lot of time as well. The thing is, you don't know where they go because they get put somewhere random on the map, and you don't have an aura, I believe. But I think that kind of disincentivizes camping, which is good. It takes, like, you don't have to pick them up, walk them to the hook, walk back somewhere else. It's just instant. Same at his mini Mori that he gets. He gets a really quick Mori if they're tormented and on their death hook. Saves a lot of time. Good power. His map mobility or his map control isn't great. That's the one downside because he's 115, so he just walks around everywhere. But he can keep his trail of torment down, and sometimes that can give information. I just think overall the good outweighs the bad, so I'll leave him in A for now. Next we have Blight. I'm not as high on Blight as other people, just because he's kind of map dependent on how well you can get his power off. His power is really hard to learn. I'm gonna put him in A tier. I think in the hands of a fantastic Blight, easily S tier. But just for anybody to play any given map, decent, good perks, good add-ons, I think he's solidly A tier. He can bounce around. His fatigue isn't that long, which is thankful that it's not long. But it takes a while for his power to come back. Not a while, but like it can take a bit for his power to come back, especially if you use all 5 bounces. The nice thing is you can walk around normal speed and just M1 people. So I think he's solidly an A. Excuse me. I'm looking here to see if there's anyone in A I want to move to B. We'll leave that as is for now. Next we have Twins. Twins is... God, I hate playing against Twins. Almost as much as Plague. I think although I'm gonna put Twins in B, the reason I'm gonna put Twins in B is because I think if you dodge Victor and kick him, assuming that the Twins isn't running like a great build or anything, and if the survivors get people up from being slugged often enough, then you can counter Twins really well. Because when it's just Charlotte, she's just a basic killer, just 115 M1. Nothing special about her. It's when Victor's out or Victor gets crushed. In my opinion, I don't think Victor's that hard to dodge. I think it's pretty telegraphed because he kind of slows down, like puts his hands up like that. So I think, again, Twins is one of those killers that if they do well, to me, it feels like the survivors messed up rather than a good Twins. I don't know if that's controversial, but that's just what I think. Next, we're going to have Trickster. If this was released Trickster, he'd be here or his own tier. He was god-awful when he came out. He's gotten a nerf in this last patch, 5.1. He is better, but it didn't fix what was really bad about him. He was... A lot of people saw him as just a objectively worse Huntress. He kind of still is. Instead of landing like 8 or 9 knives, what it used to be, he only has to land 6 for a health state. Survivors get a speed boost after they get hit, similar to Huntress. He just doesn't have map control. He doesn't have... he has like almost no map control. Because, with Huntress, if you throw something across map and you hit someone on a gen that you can see, they can go down. Or they can get injured and run off the gen. If you hit someone cross map with a knife, that's 1 of 6 knives you have to land. So it's I still think he's objectively worse Huntress, because a lot of people just say like, oh, you're playing Trickster, why don't you play Huntress? Huntress is just better, and she is. So, and it can be hard to land knives if you're looping effectively. If you get stuck in an animation for vaulting or either a window or a pallet, you can get a lot of free knives off as Trickster. He's definitely better. I'm going to put him in C. He's really close, or D. I'm going to put him in D. He's pretty close to being C, honestly. He's a lot better after his buff. But that's just the way I see it. Last but not least, we have Nemesis. Nemesis is the latest killer from Resident Evil, which is pretty hype. I was pretty bummed. When he first came out, I thought he was really bad. I thought his tentacle was really bad. When he first came out. Now that it's been some time, I've come around to him a bit more. What I wish, I would put him higher, but when you get the first hit off on your tentacle, they get a speed boost and they're not injured. They're infected, but not injured. It's not like Plague, where over time the infection will make you injured and broken. You can still be healed up while injured and infected. You can still use the vaccine while infected or injured or healthy. He's very map dependent. On indoor maps, he's like S or A tier on indoor maps. He's insane. I don't want to put him there. Okay, I'm not trying to put him there. Anyway, yeah. So but on outdoor maps like Red Forest, like really wide maps, his 2 zombies really don't do that much, which is a shame. I think the zombies are a really cool addition to the game. I think when he tiers up to tier 2. It's pretty solid. The fact that you can just whip your tentacle and break anything is awesome. I love that. I think his tier 3 is really underwhelming to me. He goes from from tier 2 to tier 3. He gets 1 extra meter of range. I see him as just a worse pyramid head, but has zombies. Just because on indoor maps he can be so strong, I'm going to leave him in B tier. If we're strictly talking outdoor maps, I put him in C. like outdoor wide maps, but just based on all of the maps together, all the builds, all the add-ons, I'd probably put him in B. So as you can see, I think a lot of killers are really solid in this game. I think as far as Plague is the one where I'm like, I could put it in B, but it's just my personal bias. I just dislike playing against her so much that I think she's super strong. Freddy, you know what? I'm not going to second guess myself. That's going to be the end of the list. I hope you guys liked it. That's my final list. If you disagreed with anything or agreed with anything, feel free to post in the comments. We can debate there. So thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. See you in the next video.